Abroad Pod.
Hello, listener. Thank you so much for joining us on this, the 29th edition of the Teaching Abroad Pod, coming at you on May 18th, 2022. James, our host, is off duty this week, hopefully out enjoying some spring sunshine somewhere. So I'll be standing in as your host. My name's Alex, and with me this week as co-host will be my colleague, Rowan, from the Oxford Seminars Job Placement Service. Rowan, how are things going?
Things are going great, Alex. Thanks. How are things with you?
Yeah, things are going well. The weather's nice. It's warming up, so can't complain.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful out there. Nice and sunny days ahead.
Speaking of warm weather, we're going to be talking to a couple interesting guests about a really unique school in Honduras. Rowan, I know you spent some time in Central America. Have you been to Honduras?
Sadly, no. Nicaragua is my only destination I've visited in Central America, although, fingers crossed, hopefully Costa Rica coming up in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to some updates from Costa Rica.
Did you ever go to Honduras?
I did go to Honduras. I went and visited a school there, sort of similar to the school we're going to hear about today. It was a sort of a residential style school where students lived on campus and room and board were provided to teachers and students. So kind of a unique school, an interesting school. It seems to be kind of a popular type of school in Honduras. And then I spent some time up in Tela on the Caribbean coast, the north coast of Honduras. Really pretty, really beautiful area.
Nice. Now, something we always like to talk about regarding the places we have visited or our guests visited is what's the food like there? Was there any nice street food that you ran across that you'd say people should check out?
Yeah, on the coast, especially the Caribbean coast, I'm sure on the Pacific coast, obviously seafood is a big part of the diet. So really fresh seafood, fresh fish. And I'm a vegetarian, so I wasn't doing that. But I do remember some like pupusas, which are famous from El Salvador. But I remember them in Honduras as well. And those are really good, really interesting.
What is a pupusa? I have no idea.
I don't know. I think it takes different forms. I kind of think of it sort of like a version of a samosa. So sort of a potato pocket, if you imagine like a potato version of a pizza pocket or something.
Hey, if it has cheese, I'm all for it.
Yeah, cheese, and they can put some other fillings in it. So pretty tasty, yeah. Yeah, and another interesting thing I remember from Honduras was the bird watching, and that whole region of Central America, like Costa Rica, Panama, Honduras, amazing for wildlife, obviously. And if you're into birding or if you're into ecotourism, wildlife, all kinds of really interesting birds. Obviously, Guatemala is famous for the quetzal. That's its national bird. I'm not sure how far south quetzals go, but they may be in Honduras as well. But a lot of like...
Is that the one with like the elaborate mating dance?
Yeah, it's got a lot of elaborate calls and it's got really interesting plumage. Like it's got this crazy thing off the top of its head and a really, really long tail, but they stay really high up in the trees, so they're hard to spot. But I remember like a lot of like different kinds of toucans. Yeah, and sort of those kind of birds that are big, interesting, exotic birds. It's exciting to see in the wild.
Nice.
So anyways, before we get to the interview that we have today, which is we're going to have the pleasure to speak to a couple of current Honduran residents, and they'll tell us about the joys and the rewards of living and teaching in Honduras. But first, a word from our sponsor.
With Oxford Seminars, starting your new career teaching ESL couldn't be easier. Oxford Seminars has trained more than 70,000 teachers over the past 20 years, and you could be next. Their comprehensive 120-hour program starts with live instruction from an experienced ESL teacher, followed by convenient online modules. If your goal is to relocate overseas or even teach from the comfort of your own home, Oxford Seminars' renowned lifetime job placement service will get you where you want to be. Right now, you can get $50 off your Oxford Seminars TESOL TESOL TEFL course price when paying in full by calling 1-800-779-1779 and giving the code TEACHINGABROADPOD. Visit oxfordseminars.com today to find out more.
We are now very happy to be joined by our guests Becca Robinson and Ashley Welker from the Leadership Mission International Center in Honduras. Through their work at the Leadership Center, Becca and Ashley are helping women from rural areas of Honduras to achieve personal development through providing them access to a nationally accredited education program, as well as opportunities for mentorship and ongoing support. We're really excited to learn about this unique organization, so we're very grateful to you both for joining us on the pod. So, Becca, Ashley, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
So let's start by asking you both a little bit about the work you've been doing with the Leadership Center. Maybe you could just start by telling us what your current position is there and tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day work activities look like.
Sure. So my name is Becca Robinson. I've been at the Leadership Center for about 2 years now, and I'm in the position of the Academics Director and Alumni Director. And so my day-to-day work is a lot of thinking about curriculum, working with the teachers on that, and also working with our graduates and running some graduate programs for students that have come to our center and left. So sometimes that means taking networking trips to meet with them or looking through their loan applications and chatting with them.
Yeah, okay. And my name is Ashley Welker. I'm an ESL teacher. I've also been here for about 2 years. My job is to, of course, teach English. So that involves kind of putting together and developing the English curriculum, and then as well as planning class. So my day-to-day kind of responsibilities are planning class, putting together the vocabulary sheets and the grammar sheets for the English topics that we're going over that week, and then going to class and teaching the lesson. And also a lot of tutoring and one-on-one help outside of the actual class time as well.
And what was it that drew you both to Honduras in the first place?
So for me, it wasn't actually necessarily Honduras specifically. I have obviously come to love Honduras as a country so much, but it was actually really just the organization, which happened to be in Honduras. When I heard about the organization and their work that they do for young, underserved population, specifically only women, I just really kind of fell in love with the mission. I came down and visited, originally just planning on visiting, not looking for a job or anything like that, and fell in love with all of the women here. And like I said, the mission that we have. Then I decided to come down and, like I said, fell in love with Honduras as a country itself. But it was really the work that we do and the vision that our organization has that drew me here.
Yeah, I would agree. I wasn't looking for Honduras, but I studied international development in college and was interested in pivoting to that field when a friend from university reached out to me and said, I found this awesome organization. You should definitely check them out. And so, yeah, over time, I've definitely come to love Honduras, but really it was the women's empowerment and the holistic spiritual and educational aspects of the program that drew me here.
When you say underserved, what do you mean by that? Like, how are you providing something that they wouldn't otherwise have a chance to experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the way that we have sponsors for our girls, they are able to come here for free. And that's an opportunity that they do not have. All of the girls that come
from low resource areas.
So the girls do not have other opportunities to receive a higher level education just because of economic reasons. So being able to give them a essentially free education is what we can provide because of the sponsorship program that we have.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, it's pretty uncommon for Honduran women in rural areas to complete high school education. And so we require our students to complete high school, and then we're a tertiary education institution. And if students have gotten that far to graduate high school, they've already overcome a lot of barriers and usually don't have economic means to continue studying or to continue their education. And so that's where we step in.
Thank you.
What's the accommodation situation like there for the staff and is there accommodation for the students as well?
Yes, all staff and students live on campus. And so we have a small area. We all live together. There are student dorms and then staff houses as well. We eat all of our meals together communally. We have a couple cooks who live on campus, as well as various construction workers who build new buildings for new staff and repair things when they're broken. But that's part of what makes TLC so unique, is that everyone is living together. And so it's not just the class time, it's the after class tutoring, it's the sports that we do together and weekend activities that we do together.
Right. So we are in a really rural area of Honduras. So on campus, we have campus. It's literally like a little community. Everyone lives together, eats together, does literally everything together. And there's not much else other than farms for miles and miles. So even if you wanted to commute, that's not exactly possible because there's nowhere to live outside of campus for some distance. So we literally have a little community here.
So on the weekends, what types of activities do you do? Are you able to get out and see some more of the country?
Yeah, on the weekends, we're often here. We play soccer every Friday night, and we have a movie night on Saturday nights. It's just standing commitments. And then Sunday there's church. But also it seems like every weekend there's another something going on, a birthday party for someone on campus, or a holiday that we're celebrating, or we're having visitors come here and share a seminar or do an activity. And so there's a lot going on campus, but the way our academic calendar is, we're on campus for 10 weeks, and then we have 2 weeks of vacation. And those are really good opportunities to travel around Honduras for 2 full weeks and get off campus. And Honduras has a lot of really fun places to explore. So we've been able to do that some.
Yeah, you would think that because we're so secluded in the mountains that there wouldn't really be much to do, but things get extremely busy, especially on the weekends too. We have a student life team on campus that puts together events. So there's always just different events, whether it's focusing on leadership or team building or just something fun for the girls and staff to do. There's always things happening. We have so much beautiful nature around us. People are always going on hikes. We have a giant waterfall to hike to, as well as several small waterfalls, a river behind campus. Girls go swimming all the time. Some of the staff give swimming lessons. There's really endless things to do. And a lot of that is because we have such amazing nature around us.
Yeah, I've been to Honduras. I know it's really beautiful. How would you describe, I mean, you're living in a kind of a unique situation, but in general, for someone who hasn't been to Honduras, how would you kind of tell them about what it's like or what the country's like?
The first thing that comes to mind is that the people, at least that I've encountered, are all very welcoming. Something that I love about Honduras and Hondurans they are very accepting for non-natives, especially non-native Spanish speakers, which even though we're teaching English here, it is really fun to be able to get to practice and learn a little bit of Spanish. And I know that there are other places that I've been where the culture is not as accepting if you don't speak that language perfectly. They kind of don't want to hear it. They'd rather you speak in English to them. And that is just not at all how it is here. People really encourage you to speak Spanish and get to know their culture. They love, love, love to share their culture. Everyone here, at least at TLC, is very passionate about talking about their country and their culture.
Yeah, I would agree. The word that came to mind for me was hospitable.
Yeah.
I've done quite a bit of traveling for networking trips or different things, and people are always like, come have a coffee with me, or come into my house, and you can stay here as long as you want, and just very hospitable. And I think the country itself just also has a lot of beautiful nature. There's islands on the north coast, a lot of beaches. We live in a pretty mountainous area, and so it's cooler, a lot of rivers, and just really beautiful, beautiful stars.
Beautiful stars, yeah. Yeah, I second that. Extremely hospitable and extremely generous with time and resources.
There's not a lot of light pollution where you live right now.
No.
So
Yeah,
you mentioned the students there have all completed a high school education, so they've come a long way in their personal education already. But what are their motivations at this point for wanting further education? What are they hoping to do with this English experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that is one of the things that I love talking about when I tell other people about TLC, is that the women that come here do not have the motives that I would say most people would, in terms of, I would like to get a good job, to be financially, I guess, successful, and to, all of the women that come here, all they want to do is be able to receive an education, not necessarily like to better their own lives, but to go back to their communities and better their communities, help their family, help others. I have heard countless girls talking about how many changes that they want to make in their community, which really is significant when you think about it, because it would be extremely easy for them to have this opportunity, receive a better education that most people where they are from cannot, and then leave that area, go into a higher income area, get a better job. The reality is, if they go back to their communities, they won't have that. But that's what they want to do. They want to go back and start more businesses in their communities, or,
Every one further education can, exponentially potentially affect 100 other people or however many people live in their community.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd agree. I can talk to it a little bit from the graduate side as well, since my work is primarily graduate focused, that we offer some programs for graduates to further university study or to start their own small business. We offer small loans for that. And we also offer grants for them to do community projects. And about 30% of our graduates are studying in university, continuing more education after this. And about 30% have gone back and started small businesses in their own communities. Some through our loan program, some haven't needed a loan, but have, like Ashley said, just have this desire to go back and see success in the place that they came from and pour into that area. And then a lot of them are applying for some of our community grants to do community projects in their community, whether that's building things for their community school or doing a seminar, or a conference for women was a recent one, building a bathroom for a family in their community. It's very community focused. So yeah, each student educated is actually a community that's impacted, hopefully.
Amazing. Yeah, so fantastic work you're doing there, it sounds like.
And what about the English classes themselves? Are you doing like games and activities, or are they pretty formal, or is it a mix of a bit of both?
Yeah. So, I mean, being an English teacher, I am a little biased, but I think that they're super fun. I have a lot of fun teaching them, and I think the girls have a lot of fun learning. They are pretty informal in that, right? Like we do a lot of games. There's a lot of creative space that allows me as a teacher to do what I would like to do in the classroom, and also the girls to kind of take different assignments how they would please. But that informalness works at TLC because the girls are so incredibly respectful and so eager to learn. It is easier to have that kind of fun in the classroom. So yeah, a lot of the English classes will have 2-hour blocks. So many times it'll be like 20 to 30 minutes of kind of teaching presentation. And then the next hour and a half, more or less, they will do their own practice, which is a lot of games, a lot of fun activities, different speaking, role playing, acting, lots of dramas and skits. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that the English classes are a lot of fun. Definitely game and fun friendly.
Any memorable stories from the classroom or from your work with the graduates?
So English, there are a lot of funny stories. It's funny how things are interpreted in different languages, how things can be mispronounced. That's happened on both ends. That's happened with my Spanish and the girls' English. Although as a teacher, like I would never laugh at a girl, there are certain times where we have that friendly relationship and can laugh about things that are said incorrectly. English definitely allows for a lot of kind of funny mistakes. I have a lot of memorable stories that I can think of outside of the classroom. I want to give you
There's a lot of funny stories, I think, like Ashley said, just with the language and cultural barrier that come up in our staff. We have several Honduran staff members and then staff from the United States, but also staff from South Africa and England and different places. So there's a lot of fun cultural exchange that happens. Yeah, I think a memorable story from graduates is that, a couple weekends ago, we got to invite them all back to campus and have a panel and hear in small groups about what they're doing since they graduated. And we hadn't been able to do that for a couple of years because of COVID. And so just to see everyone come back and be crying and hugging each other and screaming, and then to have some more quality time to ask them what they've been doing and the impact on their lives was just really life-giving and encouraging.
Something that is, when I think that I will leave TLC, a memory that I will always have are actually the times right before vacation and right after, as we're preparing to leave each other for a period of time and as we all come back, because we are such a close community and we spend every minute of every day together. It is kind of emotional when we leave each other, even if it's just for a few weeks. And those are really, really special moments. And then as well, when we come back to campus, everyone is so excited to see each other. It's like a reunion as if it's been years. So that's a memory that I'll always have as well.
When you're talking about cultural or linguistic misunderstandings, it reminds me of when I did a volunteer exchange in Cuba, and our project coordinator was telling us there's one word you want to make sure you don't use in the wrong context, because she accidentally told somebody soy embarazada, meaning that she was embarrassed, or that's what she thought she was saying.
Yeah.
But Alex
That-
probably knows what that actually means in Spanish.
Right.
Yeah.
That exact example has happened many times here as well.
It sounds like a really like unique experience to have. Do you have like past staff members who come back to visit, or like imagine people must be a special time in their life, a special experience?
Yeah, we have a staff member. He was here a couple years and he built a house right up the road and will be staying in Honduras.
An American staff
Yeah.
member.
Mm-hmm. And there's another one who actually lives in Tegus, the capital city, a couple hours away. And then there are 3 of us who will be leaving at the end of this year, who've been here a couple years and have already been, planning to come back and what that will look like. Alumni Weekend is actually a time when we're hoping to invite back not just graduates, but also past staff members or past board members, people who have been involved, as kind of a reconnect with your family time. And so it is, common for staff members to stay involved through committees or through work somehow supporting the organization.
Yeah, it is a very memorable experience, whether you're here for a week or a few months or a few years. Everyone who I've seen leave, at least, is always saying like, I can't wait to come back, or I want to come back. I'm planning my next trip.
What are their costs of living like in Honduras? Is it a pretty affordable country to live and teach in?
It is, yeah. As part of our organization, we provide housing and food on campus. As we mentioned earlier, it's a little bit of a community. We eat together and housing is together. And so all of that's provided. And then our organization provides a small monthly stipend. At first, when I was applying, I was surprised. I thought, do I need to raise money and to help support myself while I'm there? And I talked to a couple of staff members at the time and they said, no, definitely not. It's definitely enough to live on. And I found that to be true. We don't leave campus too often to go around and do things, but when we do, things are priced very affordably. So
for that stipend, it is enough even to go out and travel when those 2 weeks you're off and things like that?
It has been for me. I mean, not to do like crazy excursions and go on cruise ships or something. It is enough to definitely cover cost of living and then have some left to travel.
You don't need to, while you're on campus, at least that's kind of one of the great things about being here, is you don't need to worry about finances because you're not paying for rent, you're not paying for food. We even provide things like toothpaste and razors, like anything that you need, basically we have, and you don't need to buy. So you can just save or pocket everything that you make from that stipend. And then depending on how much you want to spend for trips, if you're, staying in hostels and kind of trying to not spend a lot of money, you could easily travel.
Yeah, I did a 9-month travel volunteer program, and we lived as a group and worked as volunteers in different regions. And food and the communal meals ended up becoming just like a huge part of our daily, weekly routine. So I imagine it's the same for you. These communal meals, it must be really an important part of just the social side of things and other kind of informal idea exchange and information exchange.
Yeah, it's definitely a different than normal teaching experience when you're eating 3 meals a day with your students and going to church with your students and playing soccer on the weekends with your students. It's easy to say like, hey, you haven't done that homework assignment, but I saw you partying this weekend. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, but when the meal is ready, we have a bell on campus that the cook comes out and rings the bell, and then everyone goes to the kitchen and picks up their food, and then we all eat in this outdoor dining room. I'm not really sure what I would call it. And that is the time that we are all together. And, if you're looking for someone or you need to say something to someone, that's going to be the time. And the time we're all together. Exactly how you said it, Alex.
And what's the food like?
Is
that a dangerous question?
Lots of tortillas,
corn tortillas.
Yeah, corn tortillas, beans, eggs. Those are our 3 main food groups, I would say. But then lots of good fruit. This morning we had papaya and avocados, and they're just so much better here.
That's true.
Lots of like pineapple, papaya, melon,
passion fruit.
Yeah. Sometimes fried chicken or fried green bananas is a fun food. They're little, it's like plantain chips, but a green banana fried. We're actually having that today at lunch with fried chicken, and everyone is pretty excited. Yeah, we have a lot of vegetable farms on campus that help us be more sustainable. And so we eat some of those fresh vegetables.
Definitely one of my favorite things in Latin America is the various ways you can eat fried bananas or plantains.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Always delicious.
Or the various ways that you can incorporate corn or beans into a dish. There's, gosh, maybe 10 different traditional dishes I can think of that are corn or beans in some different form or
Yeah. I'm
preparation.
trying to think back, like, is there ever a meal that doesn't include beans in some way? Possibly not.
Once a week, usually once a week, we have pancakes for breakfast,
Ooh.
and that they do not serve beans with that.
Little taste of home.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
And would it be considered like a dry campus, or if somebody wants to have a little bottle of whiskey at their bedside, is that something you're fine to do?
Yeah, staff is allowed. Students, some are age 18. That's our youngest student, and so that's prohibited for students to do, and so no drinking with students. But staff occasionally will get a bottle of wine together, and on the weekends drink together. So yeah, that's definitely allowed for staff members.
The only reason that that's not as common as it is on our campus is because, you know, there are some girls that are extremely sensitive to that. They've come from situations where there was alcohol abuse or substance abuse of some type, and we just want to be really sensitive to their situations. So that is why if you do want a bottle of whiskey or a glass of wine, we stay away from the students just to be sensitive to their situations. But you can also, if you are, obviously traveling or whatever and are looking for more of that type of scene, it might be better to be off campus.
That's fair. I mean, I think it's pretty common in educational settings for students and teachers to probably avoid heavy partying together anyway. But just does make me think back to when I was in Nicaragua, actually. Like, it's such a common thing. Like, I was in Korea before that, and it was very common to offer your principal, your director, a bottle of wine or a bottle of whiskey or something as like a show of gratitude. So when I offered my landlord if he would like a bottle, he's like, actually, I'm in AA. And then I realized when driving around my city, there are so many AA branches all over Nicaragua. So that's something you really should be more aware of and perhaps cautious with when dealing with people.
Exactly. Yeah. And we want this campus to be, a place where girls feel safe. And if there's anyone that has like an extreme sensitivity to that, we just don't want to jeopardize that.
So one other thing I wanted to ask is that we get a few course graduates every year who are kind of looking for something off the beaten track. Would you say Honduras is a good place to explore for such adventurers?
Yes.
You can go first now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's a fun and adventurous place to be. Where we're living, as we've mentioned, is a little bit rural. And so there's spiders and geckos and weird things crawling around your house. And so there's definitely that sort of adventure, but also a lot of fun things in the country itself. One of the past vacations, some of the staff members, we went scuba diving on one of the north coast, the islands up there. There's like cacao farming and people growing coffee and chocolate and all these different interesting fruits. And yeah, there's a lot of adventure that you can find here.
Yeah, one thing about us specifically here in the mountains is we also operate as like a farm. And so we have vegetable gardens and vegetable farms, and then we have animals. And getting to learn about agriculture is something very different than working in maybe like a city in Spain or something like that. We've also both been able to kill some chickens and then, go through the process of like, preparing them to eat and then eating them.
That was one of our first weekends on campus. They were like, we signed you up to kill the chickens this weekend. Some of the students said that. Great.
Yeah. Hopefully there are no like sensitive vegetarians listening to this, but the girls also had an agriculture assignment last year. They had to go through the whole process of killing a pig, then like prepare the meat to eat. And that was probably the most interesting thing I've ever done in my life. Again, don't think I would get that experience.
We often ask people to send pictures from their travel adventures, but maybe avoid those ones.
Right. Yeah. And just like Becca said, there's so much beautiful nature here. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and you're working in a little bit of sometimes you might not have the resources you would expect to have, or, hey, the stores are 2 hours away and no one has gotten this special paper I asked for. And so being like flexible and adaptable and like, all right, we're just going to do class this way today is sometimes another adventure aspect.
Yeah, being flexible has definitely been an adventure. There have been days on end without power, days on end without water, but those have actually been some of the funnest times, the most fun times at this place because
We'll make
it's
a
an
bonfire.
adventure. Yeah.
There's no light, so we'll all gather around and have a bonfire.
Really boring.
Yeah. We'll all be eating in the dark together in the Commodore with like candles around or playing fun games in the dark. Some of the best things have happened during those times. One time when we had a power outage, we actually decided to prank the students and it was really fun. So
Yeah, sometimes when the unexpected things happen, it's the most memorable, right?
Right.
Definitely.
So I guess the final question we always ask is if you have any advice for anyone who's just thinking of getting started in this journey that you've been on of working overseas, teaching overseas, living overseas.
One thing I would say is don't let your like resume or previous experience stop you. I had never lived abroad. I had never taught anything, nonetheless English. And I thought that I was just underqualified and that I wouldn't be good. But if you have the passion and the heart to, work with the people that you're serving, I think that you will be a great fit and you will learn what's necessary. I think that was the biggest thing that I learned was you don't necessarily have to have the experience to live the experience. If you're even remotely interested, do it. You won't regret having a cultural experience living in another country. It will transform you for the better, for sure. You won't regret it.
Yeah, I think on a similar idea, I think I had some reservations just about taking a gap in the middle of a career path and thinking, what will this do? How will I re-enter? And I'm so thankful to have come here. And I think have learned a lot of lessons and just mindset shifts about the way I want to live my life that will impact the rest of my time. And I think there's often a lot of fear about doing something non-traditional or stepping out of your comfort zone, but it's just been worth it in so many ways.
Yeah.
You might be asked to butcher animals, but it'll be a novel experience that you'd never have otherwise. So
exactly, you can learn more than many other jobs that you might take in corporate America or wherever.
Learn if you want to be a farmer or not.
Yes, that's true.
Well, that's wonderful. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak to us today. I feel like I've really learned a lot more about this really interesting organization and the work you're doing down there. It sounds like wonderful, important work. And so thanks for sharing it with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for allowing us to share our awesome organization with you.
Yeah.
Great meeting you.
You as well. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It was so great having you. And before we go, Rowan, do you have a JPS update for us this week?
I do. And I just want to echo what you said. It was really nice to hear from Becca and Ashley about their experiences working with the Leadership Center in the Department of Francisco Moran. And just a reminder, Oxford Seminars course graduates can inquire further about these positions with their job placement advisor. As far as I understand, they're interviewing now for 2 openings to begin in July, and you can earn between $250 and $300 per month as a stipend. Plus, as they mentioned, you get free housing and meals, so it is enough to live on comfortably and have a bit of money even to travel and sightsee around Honduras. You'd be working with women aged about 18 to 24 in classes of about 10 to 12 on average. And they are looking for people who want to make a difference in the lives of Honduran women, who can be creative with adult learners, who will enjoy life in a rural, off-the-grid campus in Honduras. So it really is a great option for those seeking something off the beaten track. It kind of came up in the interview as well, I guess, that the program is run by a mission. And as our guests discussed, there is an element of church going. So it might especially be enticing for a practicing Christian. But having said that, I don't believe there is a requirement for the position. Kind of on a similar note, we in job placement do work with a bilingual school in Siguatepeque that is looking for teachers to start in August for the 2022-2023 school year. In 1990, a group of Christian Honduran parents started the school, and there are now approximately 200 students from junior kindergarten all the way through grade 11 receiving instruction in English and Spanish. And Siguatepeque is a city of about 73,000 people in the department of Comayagua. This school pays their teachers about $315 per month plus accommodations, and also offer $800 per year for airfare if people are staying on for future years. So some nice benefits for that one. There are many available positions, grade 1 to spelling, reading, languages, science. Also the same for grade 5, 6, grade 1 to 11 phys ed for people who are especially qualified and experienced in that field, grade 7 to 8 art, grade 7 to 9 science, grade 9 English, grade 10 philosophy, art appreciation, grade 11 technical drawing and human biology, as well as a librarian, kinder assistant, grade 1 assistant, and grades 2 to 6 assistants. So it seems there are many different kinds of positions available with that school for people that are interested in going to Honduras. And in this case, they do ask that their teachers are Protestant Christians. It's kind of apparent the church does play a strong role in many English education opportunities in Honduras. As our graduate Dale mentioned back in episode 27, there's also a fantastic volunteer opportunity in Cofradia, a city of about 44,000 in San Pedro Sula municipality. So for 3 or more months, those teachers get free housing for teaching children and teens in groups of 10 to 30. And volunteering in Honduras can be such a rewarding and eye-opening experience for people of any background. If you haven't already, I really do recommend going back and giving Dale's episode a listen to hear all about the amazing adventures he had in Honduras, Mexico, and Colombia as a short-term volunteer teacher.
Yeah, I second that motion. Go back and listen to the Dale episode. A lot of really interesting stories from the region. Thanks very much, Rowan, for that very detailed and comprehensive update. It's a lot of interesting opportunities in the region for people thinking of teaching in different capacities. So thanks a lot for that. And thank you, listener, for tuning in to the Teaching Abroad Pod. We will be continuing to release new episodes every other Wednesday. And if you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to like and subscribe, share it with your friends. And remember, you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, and most other places you find podcasts. If you have any great ideas you'd like to hear us discuss, leave them in the comments on YouTube, send them in the comments to Oxford Seminars on Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, or email us at teachingabroadpod@oxfordseminars.com.
See ya.
Bye.